How's it going, guys? And welcome to the showdown between Bretonnia, led by the Green Knight, and the forces of the Beastmen, who are going to be led by Malagor the Dark Omen. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and take a look at some of these builds. So on the front line, I do have a combination of Battle Pilgrims and Foot Squires. And to be honest, I feel like that covers all of your bases in this matchup. The Battle Pilgrims are really good at cutting through lightly armored troops like Ungors and Gore Herds. Now for the more armored troops like Bestigors, you do have the Foot Squires. So the Foot Squires have 35 weapon strength, with 26 of that being armor piercing, which is really solid. And on top of that, they do also have a nice bonus for infantry of 8. So in the back line, I do have a Grail Reliquae, which I think is pretty much a staple in every matchup. The Grail Reliquae, with its icon of devotion, gives 12 leadership and immunity to psychology, which is definitely pretty nice. Although I don't know how many units on the Beastmen roster cause fear and terror. So the Gorbals cause fear. Looks like Malagor also no, he doesn't even cause fear. He's kind of spooky looking. I feel like he would cause fear. But he can summon a Cygor, which causes terror. So I guess it's going to be a little bit helpful. But regardless, the 12 leadership is definitely very nice. On top of that, I decided to bring a standard Bretonnian Lord, and the only reason I brought him is because he's really cheap. Like, I basically stripped down everything. I think he only costs like 11 or 1200, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to bring the Green Knight. So you guys can see I do have the Green Knight lurking in the forest. He is currently hidden, but he's going to be really good at hunting down, lords like Malagor and lords like, what is the other one called? Morkor the Shadowgave. Because they're both relatively squishy. The Green Knight doesn't have the best armor piercing values, but if he's fighting against like lightly armored targets, he will cut them to shreds. He's very quick and very, very difficult to kill without magic. And I think Malagor the Dark Omen did bring the Traitorkin, which is a single target. Well, actually, I think it's an AoE, but it still will do a little bit of damage against the Green Knight. But it looks like he's going to be wanting to use that Savage Dominion, which is going to use most of his winds of magic. Aside from that, I do have a Damsel with Lore of Life, 2 Peasant Bowmen with the Pox Arrows, which is very solid. And I've been seeing a ton of Minotaurs lately. So after Mortal Empires, Minotaurs did get more model counts, and they also got some rebalancing, and they're definitely quite a bit better, I think. So I've been seeing them quite a bit. And the Minotaurs with great weapons aren't bad against Bretonnia, because Bretonnia tends to bring a lot of cav and, relatively large targets like Pegasus Knights. So it looks like these guys are going to be trying to hunt down my cav and, go after my lords and have a little bit of fun at my expense. But I do have some peasants with these poison arrows to kind of poke them down. 2 groups of men-at-arms with polearms in the back, and these guys are really solid in this matchup. They have anti-large and armor piercing, so if the enemies are getting really aggressive with Gorbals and chasing down your casters and your lords, you can kind of hide your lords amongst the men-at-arms, and they'll do a pretty good job at actually cutting down Gorbal, dealing with Minotaurs, and also fending off Centaurs and Poison Hounds. So that's pretty much it for my main army. I do also have a group of Knights of the Realm who I like quite a bit. Pretty cheap anti-large option, really nice charge bonus, and actually their leadership is not bad right now. And they have the Aura of the Lady. Okay, that's kind of fancy. So that's pretty much it, aside from the mighty Green Knight who's going to be lurking in the forests. For my opponent, he does have a relatively lightly armored force, so you can see some Ungors in the front line, several groups of Gore Herds, 1 Bestigor, and I think the Bestigor Herds are really good in the Bretonnian matchup. They can actually beat Foot Squires 1-1, and they absolutely crush the Battle Pilgrims. So I definitely think it would have been a good idea to get an entire front line of these guys, or at least 2 or 3 groups, but it looks like he's going to be investing most of his money in these Minotaurs, as well as the double Al Gorbal back here. So man, this is going to be a lot to handle. Definitely some power. So guys, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So on the far side, you can see my opponent also did Vanguard some Centaurs with great weapons and some Poison Hounds, and I don't know if he has anything on this side. It looks like he's just going to be flanking with those Hounds. So as soon as the fighting starts, I'm going to be engaging with my Peasant Arrows. I'm going to start shooting at the Gore Herds, but once his Minotaurs do get in range, I will indeed be switching to those guys. You can see the Green Knight in the distance is going to be riding in to hunt down these filthy beasts, and also my Royal Pegasus Knights are going to be getting a bit of a rear charge on these Minotaurs here in a moment. So in the front line, we're about to have our engagement, and you can see my Knights of the Realm are basically fanning out in position, getting ready to party, but the fighting is underway in the front. So you can see the Royal Pegasus Knights, did not mean to pause there. The Royal Pegasus Knights did come in for a bit of a rear charge, and it was actually a misclick on my part. So I meant to actually click on these guys as the Green Knight was coming in, but it's definitely going to be very rough, because he's going to be collapsing on me with these Minotaurs right now. But regardless, we get a really good sandwich. You can see the Battle Pilgrims here are holding the line for the Lady, and the Foot Squires are fighting the Bestigors, which is exactly what you want. So Al Gorbal is going to be coming in with his Minotaur Goon Squad. My peasants are going to be continuing to fire, but my opponent is collapsing in with Chaos Warhounds here. And then also on the far side, you can see he is going to be coming in with those ones. So he does get a nice little, I tried to intercept here and he gets a nice little charge on my guys. I definitely thought they were covered and had focused my attention elsewhere, so I'm going to be taking a ton of damage on my peasants, but the Knights of the Realm will be coming in and lancing down these dogs. And I think the Chaos Hounds do count as a large target if I'm not mistaken. I got to learn how to check in the tooltip. Sometimes when I'm like live casting, I don't necessarily catch that, but the Peasant Arrows in the back line are going to be shooting in at these Minotaurs and definitely doing some pretty good damage. You can see they're already at half health, and the Green Knight is on the hunt. So now that he did summon that Cygor, I think he already did. Yeah, he summons it at some point in the game, but he did summon a Cygor in the back line. So I knew that now was the time to strike. He had no winds of magic left, and I could go in and be relatively safe. So the Green Knight is going to be slaying these Minotaurs, these unchivalrous brutes. Definitely doing a very good job of doing that. And in the back line, my opponent has pretty much sprung all of his traps. You can see my men-at-arms with polearms are going to be able to fend off these dogs. And also on the far side, my Knights of the Realm were able to clean up over there. Now they're going to come ride down these Poison Hounds. So once my backline is secure, I'm definitely going to be feeling a little bit more secure. Also, my Royal Pegasus Knights were able to get over here and just massacre these Ungors with the great weapons. Or these, what are those guys called again? I can't even remember. I'm totally blanking. The Centaurs with great weapons. They were able to kind of hunt those guys down. Now they're going to be going after the Cygor, which is definitely a very juicy target. He's lightly armored, and these guys have a monstrous anti-large bonus. 61 weapon strength, plus 12 bonus versus large. So yeah, that's going to be hitting this guy pretty hard. So in the mainline fight, you can see the Minotaurs have gotten into the back line, and they are fighting the Knights of the Realm. So it's definitely going to be very back and forth. Minotaurs with great weapons themselves do have anti-large, but you can see the Knights of Bretonnia are going to be coming in and lancing, and you just see the Minotaur great weapons just flying up in the air just non-stop. Oh, but it looks like this guy's going to be getting a big stomp right here on these Knights, and he's probably going to take at least one or two of those guys out with that, so not a fun time. But regardless, the Minotaurs are going down very fast, but the balance of power is actually in my opponent's favor right now. So my Bretonnian Lord in the front line is surrounded by some of his men-at-arms, and you just see some Gors like flying from the Knights in the back line. But he is actually hunting my Lord very aggressively with the two Gorbles. So I'm going to be pulling my Knights of the Realm to kind of intercept and protect my Lord. And you can see that the Grail Reliquary is being hunted by Al Gorbel right here. And these Pegasus Knights, I'm telling you, these guys are just MVPs in this matchup. They're so quick. You can get them pretty much anywhere you want in the battlefield in a jiffy. I think their base speed, they're poisoned right now from a little bit of friendly fire, but I think their base speed is like 110 or 115, definitely very solid. So in the main fight, unfortunately, Malagor the Dark Omen is really healthy. The Green Knight was dealing with some of these Minotaurs in the back line, but now he's going to be getting in there and hunting Malagor, which is what I should have been doing the entire game, but he actually had a full group of Minotaurs like pinning down the Green Knight. It was very tough to get away. But these troops of Bretonnia, these foot squires, are going to be rushing in against the Minotaurs, which is definitely not fun for them. You can see they're getting cleaved, but I still do have a lot of Knights left. Although these ones are retreating, but the Royal Pegasus Knights are still in pretty good shape. I do have some men-at-arms coming back in, which can hopefully get rid of this big old Cygor. But, you know, I figured he's not really worth investing a ton of resources into because, you know, as you guys can see, he is degenerating right here and is going to run out of HP. So it's kind of devolved into a bit of a pit fight right here. You guys can see the bounce power very, very even. But my Royal Pegasus Knights are in very good health. I do have the stand your ground from the Bretonnian Lord. And he actually seems really tanky. Like, he was being focused by two Gorbals, but I also was spamming Regrowth and Earthblood on him, so that's part of the reason why he's been lasting so long. So the Royal Pegasus Knights here getting a nice little anti-large bonus on these Minotaurs, and man, these Minotaurs are just such beasts. Definitely quite a bit stronger with Mortal Empires. I've been seeing them so much, pretty much in every matchup against the Beastmen, at least one group or one variant of them. So the Royal Pegasus Knights here are doing a pretty good job poking these guys down. They're down to 6 models, 1800 HP. Let's go ahead and see what's going on the overarching sense of the battlefield. So on the far side, he does have some Centaurs and some Ungor Spears over there, but they're probably not going to come back and make a difference. Balance of power is still very even. You can see it just ticked up barely in my favor. It looks like the Green Knight is starting to get some pretty good work in on the Lord, and man, he is super spooky. Causes fear and terror, and he's incredibly tough to kill if you don't come prepared. So Malagor the Dark Omen is going to be smacking on the Green Knight is going to be smacking on Malagor, and Malagor is starting to get pretty low. He's at half health here. The Green Knight definitely doing his people proud, and also some of these foot squires are coming in, or actually battle pilgrims, so definitely these fanatics are going to be very helpful here. And the Knights of Bretonnia coming out of the skies to swarm these foul and chivalrous brutes. Man, I probably said that like 10 times this cast, but it never gets less awesome. So you can see those Minotaurs getting chopped down by the Green Knight right here, and it looks like the Beastmen are finally starting to crumble. Malagor the Dark Omen, he's actually terror-routed right now because of the Green Knight, so nobody expected the terror from the Bretonnians. Although I think the Royal Hippogriff Knights do cause terror, but I can't think of anything else on the roster that actually causes terror. But yeah, like I said, I've been seeing a ton of these Minotaurs. I think they're a little bit better than they were before, but I don't know. I'm still not a huge fan of them, although in the Chaos matchup, I think they're a pretty good pick because, again, Chaos doesn't have any like missiles to really punish them. And if they want to like trade with them in the Chaos matchup, they have to use like Shaggoths or Halberds, both of which are, you can trade with the Shaggoth, and the Halberds you can pretty easily outrun. But it's pretty cool seeing Minotaurs and more monstrous units back in the game. I had a pretty cool match the other day where I think I was playing Chaos, and I had someone play Beastmen against me, and they brought like Minotaurs and Chaos Spawn, and then a bunch of like Spear units, and it actually really worked really well against me. But as far as this matchup goes, back on point here, the Knights of Bretonnia were able to pull it out. You can see Al Gorbel has lost the election. He's running, he's retreating. All of these anti-large troops are definitely going to be chasing him down. Not believing in global warming, of course. But yeah, Bretonnia doing a pretty good job here. The Battle Pilgrims really held in the front line. They were able to massacre those lightly armored troops. The Foot Squires really big performers as well. But the Pegasus Knights were just so solid. I mean, they were able to run, even though I made a huge mistake in the beginning, I was able to cover them with the regrowth and keep them alive. And they really did a good job of hunting down the Gorbals and the Minotaurs. Knights of the Realm, I mean, you guys saw it. They were doing a ton of work in the back line, protecting the Hounds, chasing down the Minotaurs, and, you know, I think these two were really kind of the great picks here. Also, the Green Knight. I mean, he is a bit of a risky pick, but the Beastmen, you know, I feel like sometimes they bring Lore of Death, but oftentimes you'll be seeing, I've been seeing a ton of Cygor summons for sure, because Cygors actually did get a buff in Mortal Empires as well, but I actually really like doing that as well with the Beastmen. Even if I bring like Morker the Shadowgave, I really like to also bring a Lore of Wild, I think. Yeah, to summon the Cygor. You summon that Cygor on the front line. It causes fear and terror. It's basically like a little bit of weaker variant of a giant, but it can be pretty good. But I still think Lore of Death is the way to go. Fated Unit's really good against Knights of the Realm. Spirit Leech is great against Bretonnian Lords. But yeah, again, I mean, Malagor has some pretty decent buffs. He has like some leadership debuffs, and I also know he has the Bestial Surge, I think is what it's called. But yeah, definitely a very fun match. I think Bretonnia is... as far as the metagame goes, Bretonnia is definitely a little bit tricky. I think they have some really hard matchups. But again, I think, as people play a little bit more with them, they'll start to figure things out. And also, they're going to be getting their Regiments of Renown coming back soon. So that should be very helpful as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this Bretonnia versus Beastmen game. Got a lot more content coming soon, guys. And have an excellent night.